Hello and welcome back to the Saints Squadron. I'm here with Dylan Sanders of Saints Wire and Pelicans Roundtable, and I'm cold.
I'm Ross Jackson, host of Locked On Saints podcast, and I too am cold.
This is former Saints wide receiver Lance Moore, and I guess I am cold too.
Wait, 3.
It's the Saints Squad. Everything New Orleans Saints, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from down in the Big Easy, the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Saints Squad Show, starting now.
Howdy, United Nation, and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network in the nation. Thank you for making us your first listen every, what is it, Tuesday, Thursday.
I thought you were about to drop an F-bomb for a second.
every freaking episode. We have a unique group of experts here ready in person to bring you a fun and informative show on everything New Orleans Saints. Today, we're mostly going to be diving in on everything Saints Squad related,
Sure.
Senior Bowl related. Going to be talking who stood out already. We've already had one day of practices. We're going to talk about who we want to see more, why it's important. And then we also want to talk about Demario Davis. He talked a little bit about, maybe testing the market. We'll talk about if that matters or if that's important. We'll talk about all that later. First, though, I do want to say this is our first ever in-person episode.
We did it.
Shout out.
It's also the first ever squad show in person across the Locked On Podcast Network.
That's awesome.
Period.
Wow.
That's
the first
awesome.
to do this.
Groundbreakers.
So, yeah, we always have been.
But it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. We are on Airbnb Wi-Fi and all using one microphone. So please forgive us. I think it's pretty fun. Either way, I think you can move past it. We're gonna move past it and get into the Senior Bowl. I want to talk a little bit about who has stood out already. Yeah. We've already seen some practices. Let's start off with Ross. Who has stood out for you so far?
Yeah, one of the guys that I've really liked, and I knew I was going to like him coming in, was Penn State running back Nicholas Singleton. Now, I don't want to leave Katron Allen, his teammate, out of the conversation. Mm-hmm. He did some really impressive things too. But getting to see Nicholas Singleton and the burst that he has, the vision that he has, the patience with which he plays, and getting to see him engage in that pass protection, which has always been a really big part of his game. Now, he got run over at one point by one Oregon linebacker, Bryce Bocher, maybe?
Bryce Buckner.
But
I think he is an MLB draft pick, random knowledge.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. Yeah,
Isn't he an older guy, too?
Yeah.
6-year senior, maybe.
Yeah, something like that, for sure.
Good player.
Yeah,
center
really
fielder.
Good player. And so for that one, it was like, all right, you got to cross the formation, and it was like an unblocked defender drill, basically. And so he did get run over on that one. But outside of that, he had some really, really good reps in pass protection. And Lance, you know better than anybody else, if you are a running back on the field, or you're going to get on the field a lot more if you can pass protect. And that's going to have a lot of really good really good indications for you and for how your team utilizes it.
Well, and I feel like part of protection for a running back is his willingness to do it.
Yeah.
Some guys are really good at it. It's natural. They know how to take on the contact and use their leverage and their weight and their strength well. Other guys aren't natural at it, and they've got to work at it to improve. And I think part of the reason why we don't see young running backs get on the field quite as often or as early as maybe you would hope, because they can't protect.
Yeah.
If you can catch balls and run the football effectively, but you can't protect, it's hard for them to put you on the field regularly. So the willingness to do it and the willingness to get better is what young players need to do to get themselves on the field sooner.
In last year's draft class, the guy that was so noted for his pass protection as a running back was Travion Henderson. And he ended up being a finalist for Rookie of the Year because of how many opportunities he got, even being in a backfield with Ramondre Stevenson, a proven NFL guy. And so clearly makes a big difference for these guys. So Nicholas Singleton was a big standout for me.
I like the Nicholas Singleton shout, because that's a guy coming in. I've always been a big fan of his. I always thought that he is a little bit held back by being in a backfield with Katron Allen. There's just not that much need to showcase his abilities. But he was like a first-round guy coming out of high school for me, like a guy that I could see having the skill set and the speed and all-around ability to be like someone's like, okay, I'm going to go, this is our new franchise back. So now knowing he is not only okay with being a guy who can block and takes pride in it. I also think it stands out that he is a talented running back that is okay with being in like a committee. Like he's not like transferring away and being like, oh, well, I could go somewhere else and put up 1,200 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns by being the only guy. I'm going to stick at Penn State with Katron Allen, and then we complement each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing for me in terms of like maturity and like off the field stuff. As good as he is also on the field, I think he'd be a really fun find in like that third round. For the Saints.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah.
So from a scouting perspective,
Okay.
I guarantee you that's a question he's going to have to answer. Why did you not leave to become a feature back somewhere else and rush for 1,500 yards or more and be an All-American? Like, what was it? And how he answers the question, obviously, is most important.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you here, he's going to get that question from multiple scouts because
great.
they dig into literally every single thing as far as your character goes, your football character, your personal life. I mean, they want to know so much about you, especially if a team's going to invest millions of dollars in you, right? They want to know as much about you as possible so that they can have the total picture when it comes to possibly picking you in the draft.
Yeah. Is the right answer to that question something about like, I wanted to stay loyal to the program that I was with or something like that? Like,
I don't know that there's necessarily a right answer. I think answering the question with confidence is probably most important.
Yeah.
You know, do you believe what you're saying? Or are you just spitting something out because you think I want to hear that?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how psychological these interviews become with how the teams approach it, how they want to analyze answers, how they want to see how people respond. Body language changes. I mean, it's pretty intense with, and each team is different, and each scout is different. I mean, there's scouts who want to get to know guys. There's scouts who just want to try to get under guys' skin to see how they react. And that's part of this business. And it's part of this process in particular as the guys go through as they're leaving college and going to the NFL.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
That scares me. I'm a terrible interviewer. I'm really bad at interviews. One time I used to work at a retail store. I was going to get a promotion to be like a key holder and be like this guy. And then my boss was like, okay, go to the interview. This is what this guy's like. This is what he wants to hear. And then I do it. I think I kill it. And then I check my phone as I leave the interview and he goes, Dylan, tell me you did not wear shorts.
It was hot that
day. Got the promotion though. Got the promotion though. Lance.
Yes.
Who has stood out that you liked early?
Well, I mean,
you can be biased.
I mean, look, I'm obviously biased. I have one guy in the game. His name is Cyrus Allen. People in Louisiana and especially New Orleans should know. He's a Landry Walker kid, right? Former Louisiana Tech receiver. A guy that I've told him hundreds of times, like, I would love you in black and gold. And he's like, oh, man, I don't know, man. Like, it might not be great if I come home. I said, no, it'll be great if you come home. Like, you would complement this group so well. But yeah, I represent him, obviously, so he's a guy to me that stood out. But he made plays. If we're going outside of my biased mind, I got to say Zion Young. Just big, physical, athletic edge rusher from Missouri that gets after people. He can beat you with his strength and his bull rush. He can beat you with his length as he gets around the corner. And a guy that I think is probably one of the highest rated players at the entire Senior Bowl this year. Like, legit potential first round talent that obviously needs to handle some things that have popped up and will continue to follow him everywhere he goes. As I just said, like, this process isn't just about how good a football player you are, right? It's about what you're doing off the field. It's about your personal life, your family life. I mean, all those things matter. So hopefully that situation that happened, I mean, and I'm not here to break news, but he had some issues with the law. I think it'll work itself out. But he's going to be one of those guys that potentially has a shorter leash as a result. I mean, once you start getting in trouble, that hurts your draft stock. And that's not to say that he's going to fall out of the first round. I think he's too good of a player and has a very, very high ceiling. But those things become problematic. If you're an organization, you don't want a bunch of guys that are in trouble with the law, right?
And at the same time, like, if you can show that you can grow from that, make the right decisions moving forward, like that, I'm sure that goes a long way too.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's looking for perfect, right? Because I don't believe that it exists. I think that's a goal, but there's people that have character flaws. There's people that have situations that happen. There's guys are gonna make mistakes, right? How do we eliminate those mistakes from reoccurring? And like you said, how do you grow from those mistakes and become a better person, a more informed decision maker? And because all those things matter. I mean, if I'm drafting for a team, I want somebody that's going to make all those around him better on and off the field. And so I think that, is something that could potentially affect him, but the player is really, really good.
Team captain experience too, which the Saints love.
Interesting.
Saints love a team captain guy.
He's all over the place with the right. But I mean, that's the kind of guy I think it's why it's really fun for the Senior Bowl, because we spend so much time talking about who are the Saints going to take at number 8. Because I mean, it's obviously important your first round pick, but there are 6 other draft picks or whatever it is that are going to happen, and so guys are going to have to come in the second round. The guys are going to have to go in the second round, and they're going to have to go in the third round, and they're going to have to go in the fourth round. God, we're in person. We got it. And so another guy I think that's like that, that can be drafted in the second round is Lee Hunter, Texas Tech. Yeah. That's my favorite one so far. He's so massive, but he moves a lot quicker than you would think. Seeing him in person, he has that first step, that quickness. And Brian Bresee, I think, took a lot of steps forward as a run defender, took a lot of steps, not back as a pass rusher. He just didn't really have the opportunity to be a pass rusher this year. That's not really what he did. So to have be able to get a guy that is a space eater in the second round and can also just dominate the run game, let Brian Bresee kind of pin his ears back and then go after the quarterback. I think it's the best case scenario for like roster building.
I do think that both of those guys, obviously, you're wanting to build up that wide receiver room a little bit. I think that we autopilot sometimes when we talk about the need in the wide receiver room as being the big-bodied wide receiver. But if Devon Vele can hold that role, then having somebody that's maybe not necessarily like the measurement type that checks those boxes, but plays bigger,
playmaker,
and just be a playmaker, like that's equally valuable to add to that room. And similarly, the defensive tackle spot is probably not a place that a lot of people would say like, oh, that's a top need for New Orleans. But I think that's a place where you want to continue to build and get better and add talent for sure right now.
There's never enough talent in the defensive line room. People say that about the cornerbacks, but I think it's true really for all over the defense and all over the team. You can't have too many good players, and so don't let having one stop you from drafting another.
No, and I think the defensive line is such a rotational group anyway.
Good point.
You need to have as many healthy, active, playmaking bodies as you can up there. And like you said, I mean, you can't have too many of those guys. And if you do, that's a great problem to have, because there's going to be attrition, there's going to be injuries. If you can plug and play the next guy, I mean, that's just more power for your defense, for sure.
Looking a little ahead to like the guys we're going to talk about who they should be watching later is like Caleb Banks is like fits this conversation. It's like who can be around after the first round but also make an instant impact. So I think all of the guys that we've talked about so far fit that mold.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a lot of other guys too. Like
Ted Hurst,
Jacoby Lane. I'm really, really intrigued by Tyron Montgomery too, coming out of John Carroll. They were telling a story about him during like the broadcast of the Senior Bowl during the first practice. And they were talking about how like his coach found Tyron Montgomery through like social media. He basically asked him like, "Where'd you find this guy?" And he was like, "Online." And I guess he was posting maybe workouts or something like that. And then coaches went out and found him and brought him there to John Carroll, and he ended up being this really dynamic playmaker in a way that maybe they didn't expect, but were certainly hoping to get when they saw his videos.
Josh Cameron, shout out to Team JPC. That's a guy that he had a big catch, big body catch over the end zone.
It's like during one-on-ones. He's like 223.
He's
big.
He's a big dude.
I mean, and you look at having Vele, you don't stop getting big body contested catch receiver, just you have one, like we were just talking about.
Right.
And they have so many good like speedier guys. Having some more big bodies would be awesome in that room.
100%.
All right, well, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about why the Senior Bowl is important, both for the Saints, their coaches, the players, all that. Why do they take so much stock? Because, like you said, they drafted 5 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a very important week, and we're going to talk about all that coming up next.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
We are going to move to why the Senior Bowl is so important. It's a thing where not only does it showcase the players, I think, especially for the Saints this year, they have a ton of coaches who are getting to step up, get promotions, and then obviously the Saints care about why players who are at the Senior Bowl, they draft from this week all the time. You get to meet with them. Lance, why is the Senior Bowl such an important week?
Well, I mean, obviously, as you go through this process, it's a big job interview, right? And it's not just an interview actually for the players. Like you had mentioned, Joe Thomas, head coach of the American team. This is his first opportunity to be the guy, not just a running back coach or an assistant offensive coordinator. He is running the show, and it's a good test for him amongst all of his peers, because everybody's here at the Senior Bowl. It's not just the scouts, it's head coaches, it's general managers. So it's not just the players that are getting evaluated, but as far as the players goes, it's the first time for the pro scouts and the coaches to get up close and personal with the actual players. During the season, pro scouts and coaches are busy with their regular jobs, right?
Yeah. Pro
so
scouting and coaching.
So they don't really have the time to get in front of these kids, watch their tape, to talk to them even. So now is the first opportunity for them to get a chance to talk to these guys, to get to know the people that they are. The college scouts are the ones that see them during the season, talk to them. They can relay a message, but without the other part of the equation coming in and physically being able to see and talk to these guys, I don't think that the total picture can be painted. And I don't know that anybody would really feel comfortable drafting a player that they haven't been close to. Right. And at least not in the earlier rounds. Maybe in the later rounds you draft a guy that you're taking a ringer on. But I think that it's so unique. You're talking 140 or so guys, right? There's obviously more guys that get drafted, but 75 to 80% of this game is going to be drafted, maybe more, right? So this is an awesome opportunity for these guys to come here and showcase themselves, the type of players that they are, obviously the type of people that they are, the things that move them and motivate them. And it's basically they're coming here to interview for one job with 32 potential employers. And that to me is the cool part about it, because when I'm having conversations with my clients, I'm like, we don't need every team to love you.
Right.
Just one.
We just need one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally how this goes. And then if that one opportunity doesn't work out, then we hope that somebody else liked you enough to give you an opportunity, right? Or what you did at that last stop was enough for another team to say, hey, we'll take a shot on this guy. So, just super cool. And I believe it's the first test for a lot of these guys as far as what their lives are going to be like for the next however many years. Because it's an actual pro football week with the schedule, the meetings, the grueling practices, and then eventually a game. As you lead up, it's kind of like an NFL schedule with extra meetings in the evenings, obviously. But, it is a good show for them for what their lives are going to be like here in the near future.
Yeah.
This is just a question off the top of my head. It just kind of popped up with you talking about that. Add in the fact that it's cold. Is this another opportunity for players to like show a little bit of toughness? Do you think people are going to take notice to how they perform in the cold weather?
Yeah, and I think that the cold adds a whole different dynamic to it. Because let's be real, nobody likes playing in the cold.
No.
Right? Like I played.
I don't like
football for
watching
over-
in the cold.
I like playing football for over 20 years, and while at times you make it look like it's not cold out there, and I told you guys earlier, like if you're on the field and you're actively engaged and involved, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're in for a play, then out for 2 or 3 plays, then you're in for a play, like you feel that cold, and it is like it's not fun for anybody. But the reality is nobody cares.
Right. Yeah.
Go do your job, be the best that you can be out there, and show how good of a player you can be, regardless of what the elements may be. Because guess what? In the NFL, you're gonna have to play in games that are cold as well. So yes, it sucks because you think All-Star game, oh man, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be somewhere warm and it's gonna be great. But you come here and it's like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, I know us as spectators, we were freezing cold.
Oh,
I can
my
only
goodness.
imagine the guys that were like
Yeah.
not in for a series or something. It's got to be bad.
I don't have a single article of clothing on right now that isn't matched with another version of that article of clothing. Everything I'm wearing is doubled up right now. I got 2 pairs of socks, 2 shirts. I had 2 jackets on. Like, it's just too much. And then these guys are out here, peak athletes,
Guns
cut off
out.
shirts, guns out, punting, everything. I was just like, all right, that's why they're them and I'm me. To your point about the Senior Bowl, I was looking this up. 41% of the 2025 NFL draft last year were Senior Bowl participants.
Well, there you go.
41%. And if we're being real, I think this class of Senior Bowl participants is probably a more highly draftable, like a lot more of a draftable players.
So 41%. How many are you talking? 110?
106. Yep.
106.
Yep. 106.
So just do the math.
Yep.
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge.
It's
big for sure.
It's just a big week all around. It's a good chance for us to start to get a little bit more acquainted with guys that we want to talk about over the next couple of months, like who stands out in practice and then becomes like our guy that we get to talk a lot about. Why do you like Senior Bowl weeks?
Yeah, so we talked to Joel Thomas after practice, who of course is the Saints' associate head coach and running backs coach. So it's him. Then the Saints also have the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator all on the American team, and they have the defensive backs coach on that side too. So they've got a lot of coverage there. And one of the things that he talked about was this is an opportunity. It goes to something that you mentioned earlier, Lance. This is an opportunity for them to learn. Like, they're going to see what they're going to see on film. They're not trying to find out if these guys know how to play football. They know the answer to that question already. Right. What they're trying to find out is, do they like football or do they love football? And so that's where a lot of these, I think the interviews, I think being willing to be out there in the cold probably does speak a little bit to that as well. And so they're trying to find the guys that have the right, they always talk about having the right DNA, right? Every team talks about that. The Saints have talked about that before. And so I think that becomes a big part of this too. How do guys respond to being coached? How do guys implement notes? Like, one of the things that people were really excited about with Lee Hunter is that he would do a rep in one-on-ones, or not one-on-ones, but when it was like they would have like the 5 offensive linemen, but he would only match up with one of the offensive linemen at that point. He would run, and then he would come back. He would have a few reps off. They would coach him, and then they were coaching him to get lower, was kind of the thing they were teaching. Very next rep, he gets lower. Very next rep after that, he's lower than he was lower before, and he starts winning all of these reps. Yep. And so not only it became less, I imagine, for these scouts and for these coaches, it became less about him winning the reps and more about the fact that they gave him a note and he implemented it immediately. Right away. He didn't need to be told over and over again. He didn't need to have that. It was just, keep going, and he did that. So I think that's the other thing that you get to learn here that you don't get to see on tape is how do these guys implement, how do these guys respond to being coached, and ultimately, how do they respond being told, hey, you're not doing this right, or this isn't going well, or whatever? Because you're telling them what to do based on what you're seeing them not do well in some cases, or you're telling them to do more of what it is that's going well. And in either case, you need them to hear you. And I think that's a thing you get to learn in this environment.
Does anything else stand out as like a reason why the Saints draft so many players from the Senior Bowl?
I think they like the competitive nature of it too, like guys showing up to these all-star games and competing. I mean, you look at them, they had 5 players that were on that participated in a Senior Bowl, one that was invited and declined, one that was invited and then couldn't participate, and then they had another player from, I think it was the Shrine, and so like 8 of their 9 players had some contact with an all-star game at the end. The only exception was Calvin Banks Jr. because he was a bona fide top 10 pick as it was, right? And so I think that becomes the other piece is, are you willing to show up and compete and say, you know what? I like where I'm at, but I could be higher, or I could be better, or I have something else to show. And then I think the other part of it is you get an opportunity maybe to show something that you can do that the system didn't ask of you where you played. Maybe you had a limited route tree as a wide receiver. Now here's an opportunity to show you can do some more. Maybe you were a running back that didn't get involved in the passing game a lot as a receiver out of the backfield. Here's a chance to show that you can do that. Maybe you're a linebacker that was asked to drop back in coverage, but you want to show that you can pass rush, or vice versa. You get an opportunity to do that here at Mobile.
Well, you also, from an organizational standpoint, you get to spend more time with the guys at All-Star games, right? If you're not invited to the Senior Bowl, you don't get to be in those interviews with the teams. You don't get to be coached by the coaching staff that happens to be here this week. But that, to me, is also just as important. I mean, having that access that you wouldn't otherwise had unless it's at the combine, and even the combine is even more crazy because there's more players there. So the time is a lot shorter there. So being able to get access to those guys, more access, I should say, is definitely something that helps them kind of say, okay, yeah, we're getting the right guys here.
Joel Thomas talked about how he would bring in like a tablet into these meetings here because it's like 20-ish minutes that they get with him, which doesn't sound like a long time, but compared to the combine, it's a lifetime. And so he would bring in and, you know, hey, ID this front, flip this play, now tell me who's Mike, Will, Sam, like go over the linebacker alignments and all those things.
Sirens on our end, by the way.
But we're fine. Everything's okay. I gotta go.
Ross won't be on. Ross won't be on the next episode.
I won't be on the second half.
And it does make sense that, you know, you look at these assistant coaches, they're going to be spending all week with these guys and like extra time, and the Saints have so many people. It does make sense. Like by the end of the week, like, of course, if there's a guy that stands out, it's like I really want to keep coaching this kid. I think he's going to be a great example just because there's so much of a sample size to go off of from this week, as opposed to a guy that is like in theory looks good on tape, but you don't really know as much about on the other end.
Yeah. And I think it shows a lot too if you can show up as a player on what day do players usually get here? Like do you know?
You're saying like how many days in advance?
Yeah.
Well, this has been different because
that's right, because of the storms
because of the weather. So like
that's right.
My guy's been here since Friday.
Yeah.
And so like he basically had 4 days here to kind of just chill and wait because they were nervous that if guys flew back from, because my guy was at the American Bowl, if he flew back to Phoenix where he's training, we might not be able to get him back here in time.
Right.
And so there was several guys, I believe, that they were flying in early just to make sure that they could get here because of the weather.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about whenever you get here, you have it's a matter of days to figure out this playbook before you go out there and you take snaps on Saturday in the Senior Bowl game. Because we talk a lot about the practices because that's what we get an opportunity to see. We get to see all of this stuff that we're talking about. But there is still the game that gets played on Saturday. And these guys show up, learn this playbook, learn these play calls. I'm listening to like Diego Pavio walk in there and like call West Coast style play calls, and they got to go out there and execute that. And I think that's an impressive part to watch.
That's the NFL. Right? You never know when you can get traded, when you get cut, picked up by a new team.
Baker Mayfield years ago, right?
You just got picked up, but guess what? You're playing this weekend. Oh shoot! I better learn as much as I possibly can in these next couple of days. I mean, that's the reality of playing pro sports. Like you're here for a reason. Now you need to make sure that you handle the mental side of it because we know the physical is there, and that's a part of this too. Like how well do these guys grasp the playbook, even though it's going to be an abbreviated playbook, of course, right? Like they're not installing an entire playbook here, but still gives them a glimpse into how fast guys process stuff, how quick of learners they are, what type of learners they are as well.
Yeah. Oof. So much, dude. Like it's so much packed into 1 week, 3 practices in a game. Obviously, there's so much else that goes on. But when we talk about it, we typically talk about 3 practices. And sometimes we talk about the game. But it's so much that's packed into this week.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot packed into this episode because we still have more to talk about. We're going to be talking about some more players that They could have stood out today, but also we want to keep watching, and we think the Saints should be watching as the week goes along. Coming up next. You know, I probably should have had this ready. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, you know. I can't really speak from personal preference. No, the Smoothie King Center actually is awesome. And
the Blender, baby.
The Blinda. Getting tickets is the hard part. It's always been the most confusing. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Pull up while I talk about it.
I was doing that
Ross
too.
is
Yeah,
pulling
I got
up
there.
Gametime tickets right now. I love seeing all-in price up front. One of my least favorite things is a surprise fee at a checkout. It's awful. I also like to be able to see the view from the seat before I buy tickets, so to know I didn't get put in a bad spot.
That's some $23 tickets for Pels Grizzlies.
Hey, future Pelican John Morant. He's not playing because it's John Morant. So you can't see him, but you can see Cam Spencer. How about that? So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and just code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. It was just here. It's the last call for football. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. Who you got in the Super Bowl?
Seahawks.
Or Patriots.
I need some time to brew in the question. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, how I'll miss you. This is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the football season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Super Bowl 60. It makes my back hurt.
It's crazy.
That's
It's so crazy.
Did the thing where it locked my screen. All right. Let's get into some more players that maybe stood out today, but we definitely want to see more of as the week progresses. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to start the bidding at someone who was not on my sight lines going into the week, but I think quickly entered them, and that's Keelan Rutledge, Georgia Tech offensive lineman. I know a lot of people are worried about, drafting a first-round offensive lineman. You don't need to worry about, really would be surprised if they do. Yeah. But there are a lot of really good offensive linemen after the first round. Yep. I think Keelan Rutledge is quickly entering the conversation as a guy that could do that, just dominant. Yeah. He was awesome today. Yeah.
He's such a physical, I want to finish every player in the dirt. Jarvis Davis from the Falcons squad is upstairs. He just yelled to leave Rutledge alone because they clearly want him in Atlanta. I think every team wants this guy. I mean, he is the demeanor with which he plays, but yet he plays so cleanly. I think that he's incredibly impressive and really athletic too. I mean, you got to be to play in that offense for sure. Yeah. They do so much crazy stuff.
I like that.
I think for a team that needs interior offensive linemen, it's not the worst idea, but I think knowing that this team has drafted offense and defensive linemen in the first round a bunch of times in recent history with a team that needs playmakers offensively just doesn't super excite a lot of people. Yeah. But I mean, there is a glaring need. Yeah. I mean, we'd be silly to ignore the fact that we need help. Yeah. And he's definitely a guy that could fulfill a need. Yeah, 100%. And I think fits the type of ball that we want to play.
I think you draft Jeremiah Love in the first round at 8, and then you draft Keelan Rutledge, and then you're good.
That's great. That's great. We were talking about Nicholas Singleton earlier, and it kind of made me think, it was like, there's something wrong. Why didn't I want Nicholas Singleton? Because then that means you didn't draft Jeremiah Love at number 8. And we did. This happened last year with Tyler Warren. We can't do it again. We can't be sitting back and being like, oh man, if only they got this playmaker.
Right.
Just do it. Get him. He's the best player available at that. He could be the best player in this draft.
In the draft.
In the draft. So, that's not what we're talking about right now.
Right.
But, we can always fit a little bit of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Ross, who is some guys that you want to see more of later this week?
Western Kentucky edge rusher Nadame Tucker. This is a guy, 14 and a half sacks this past year.
Ooh.
He tied Reuben Bain Jr., who is going to be a top 10, top 5 player off the board in this draft. And I'm so intrigued to watch more of Nadame Tucker and see what he can do going up against it. The biggest knock against him is going to be that he played at Western. Did I say Western Kentucky? Western Michigan. My apologies. Yeah. The biggest knock for him is going to be competition level.
Right.
So now you get an opportunity to come here and play against some of the best offensive linemen in college. And you get to go up against players from different competition levels. And you show a little bit in that maybe gives a bit of a sense of you being able to confidently make that leap as a day 2, day 3 edge rusher, which could be a pretty good fit. Because I think you want to still find somebody opposite Chase Young to develop, grow, all that.
If you can get an impact defensive end or pass rusher outside of the first round, that is a massive win, because that means you can get Jeremiah Love in the first round and still
or Jordan Tyson.
Or Jordan Tyson. I remembered the name sounded familiar. We watched Nadame Tucker, a little bit of Nadame Tucker tape while we were going through the top defensive ends, and I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And he did dominate that his competition. He looked, my whole thing about competition and like scouting the helmet is like, he did what he was supposed to do if he's a really good player playing against worse talent.
Yeah.
Like, do you think like there's something about a guy that, they should be scared if he is a small school talent?
Well, I mean, I just look at the potential defensive player of the year from my alma mater, Quinyon Mitchell. Right? He played in the MAC conference, which is the same as Western Michigan, and he's now one of the best corners in year 2 of his career in a whole National Football League. So there's certain things that the scouts know how to look for in guys that played at smaller schools, but obviously this week is critical, right? How does he look against top tier competition? Pass that test, and then it's like, okay, combine time. How does he test? How does he measure? It's about dotting the I's and crossing all the T's. Like they turn on the film, that's only one piece of the story. But then how does that translate into the upper tier competition? How does the film marry with his test scores or measurements? It's all just individual pieces to an entire puzzle that a guy like that just has a little bit more to overcome because he went to a smaller school. But like I said, Quinyon Mitchell was a first round pick, and he's playing great football. So it's Khalil Mack, another Mack guy. I mean, there's been in recent years more earlier draft picks from the MAC conference in smaller schools than 20 or so years ago. So it is possible, and a guy that seems to be doing his thing and standing out.
And look, the Saints love their small school guys. They always have. I mean, one of us is a small school guy with a Super Bowl ring, so that's worth also pointing out as a part of this conversation.
Ooh.
But like, it's Lance. It's Lance.
Okay.
It's not me. So
I went to LSU.
Yeah, you didn't go to a small school. I went to a small school. Lance went to a small school. But the
I
difference
started
between
in a
us
small school.
is vast.
Go Bears! Baton Rouge Community College. My white goat.
Let's go.
Go Bears!
Let's go.
Go Bears! I think they have a baseball team.
Cool.
That fun fact.
Yeah.
For all my prospective BRCC students, don't go. Lance.
Yeah.
Who's there that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be biased and go with a receiver. A different receiver than my first receiver, Cyrus. Malachi Fields.
Yeah, man.
6'4", just under 220, physical receiver that I think even watching him could be even more physical. Yeah. I think back to when we drafted Jimmy Graham. Obviously, Jimmy Graham is even bigger than Malachi, but somebody who doesn't...
Jimmy Graham's bigger than most people.
Yeah.
Sure. So all good.
I didn't really understand how big he was.
Yeah.
And how strong he was in terms of what he could do on the football field. And I almost without watching him a ton, I almost feel like I see that a little bit in Malachi. In that, hey, dude, you know you're bigger than every single guy that's going to try to cover you. You know you're bigger than every single safety that's going to try to tackle you.
Yeah.
Like, you can use that to your advantage and really help yourself to be able to get open a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's not going to have to be all speed and quicks with a guy that's 220.
Right.
It could be leaning on a guy. It could be a little subtle shove off with the elbow, not the hand, right? Can't do that.
You don't want to do that.
But
you don't want to do that.
being big and strong will allow for him. I mean, it's just Michael Thomas made it look so easy. Marcus Colston made it look so easy, being able to use their body and their physicality to basically beat up on the smaller defenders who just don't have the size or the strength to keep up with them. But strong hands, playmaking ability, can catch the ball down the field. He had a great rep today in one-on-ones right down the field. The DB was literally in his hip pocket. Perfect throw by the quarterback, but a late hands catch by him that showed not just ball skills, but showed confidence in the fact that, okay, that guy knows how to do that. That wasn't just a one-off like, oh, he got lucky. Like, no, he knew exactly what he was doing and what he had to do to finish the play. That's the type of playmaking that we need on our team, and I think whoever drafts him will be very happy.
Does he move more fluidly than you would expect for a guy his size?
Yeah, I think
Maybe
so.
Fluidly might not be the right word.
I think he's a pretty fluid athlete. I wouldn't say that he's super duper twitchy. But again, most 220-pound guys are not super twitchy. So I would imagine he's going to need some work as far as the route running part goes. But again, he can use his physicality at the top of those routes. So it's not going to be the same as an 185-pound or 190-pound receiver having to get in and out of his routes quickly. So, I like the player. I like the makeup, and interested to see, how early he goes. I don't know that he's a first-round guy, but I think a team will be very lucky to get him on day 2 or early day 3.
And Notre Dame. So Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love.
No, but I do think it is relevant to point out that he went to Notre Dame because they didn't have to do a lot of throwing of the football there. And so there's still so much there that you can probably mine from him with the right opportunity.
For sure. And the right coaching.
The right coaching.
Thinking of some other names, a guy who stood out a little bit today is Colton Hood.
Yeah.
I think everyone's on the Jermod McCoy train, but kind of forget he didn't play at all this year, and some other players had to step up. Colton Hood, he's kind of like he's got a bit of a slot corner build, but he's only really played the boundary. I think he had a good one-on-ones session. You wanted to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, he was somebody that was really interesting because every corner is going to have a moment to where things aren't going to go your way, right? You're going to get beat. As a wide receiver, you're going to drop a pass. Like, all these things are going to happen. And so the
Wait, we're going to do what?
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes they drop passes.
Okay.
Sometimes
I'm about to pull up the receipts.
Not Lance Moore, but sometimes other wide receivers drop passes. No, but you have to have that short memory, right? And when you're at this, which, let's call it what it is, it's a showcase as well. It can be really easy to get in your head if, you give up a catch or something like that. And everyone just saw that, whatever. Well, he comes back in one-on-ones, which are not an easy thing for corners at all, especially in these types of environments. And he is on the hip of the receiver, stride for stride, step for step the whole way through, comes away with a really clean pass breakup down the right sideline, gets the inside positioning and stays there in the pocket. Excellent stuff. And that was after giving up a catch. I think it was actually one of the catches that that Tyron Montgomery had during the actual, I can't remember if it was teams or sevens. But anyway, he needed to rebound, he needed to bounce back, and I think that he showed that. So I love seeing guys with enough confidence in themselves to have those types of bounce back moments.
30 career drops. Does that sound?
That sounds like cap.
30. You had 7 in 2012. What are you doing?
Yeah, no. We didn't have a head coach. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, 2012 was kind
of. You
had
your hands.
No, but that was also my best statistical year. So,
that's true too.
But you know what? We started out so bad that year, and I will admit that 7 sounds pretty accurate for that year, because I remember games early on being like, "Dang, what is going on?" And I just didn't quite know what was happening.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, as the season went along, I played better and better,
Yeah.
but 30 sounds like a lot, bro.
Man,
I think they got that from like the time I was born.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's all.
No,
That's all.
It says 2006.
That's Pee-wee. That's Pee-wee.
High school,
That's
college,
that's park ball.
NFL Europe. Like,
Yeah, right.
I mean, it says your career drop rate is 6.9, which is still nice.
That is nice.
That
That
is
is
nice. I still can't.
nice.
Don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Oh, man. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit less Senior Bowl and a little bit more New Orleans Saints because Demario Davis had some comments about being willing to play elsewhere. We're going to talk about if that is actually like a scary, does that worry us?
Yeah.
All that coming up next. So can you hit the...
Yeah.
My thing's messing up, guys. And then now I need you to do this. It's PrizePicks.
Okay, I got you.
That's what it's PrizePicks.
You just start. I'll pull it up. Don't worry about it.
Okay, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked in to every moment than with PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With the football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. PrizePicks makes watching the entire game better, even more exciting, by letting you build simple lineups around player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. PrizePicks is incredibly easy to get started. Pick 2 or more players and choose more, or less on their projections. Great way to keep playing football, fantasy football, even after the season-long leagues are finished. My favorite feature is the early payouts, which lets you cash out if a player gets off to a hot start. Download PrizePicks apps today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
Can I still do that?
Oh man! All right, closing out our show today, we have had a lot of fun talking about the Senior Bowl, but this whole show was going to be all Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I think there's something at least worth talking about. Demario Davis earlier today in an interview was asked about coming back to playing for the Saints next year, and he responded by saying, "I'm coming back to the NFL."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are your initial reactions to that? What it means? Should Saints fans worry about him leaving now? Lance, I'll start with you.
I feel like he's been around the block long enough that he understands what his words mean and the weight that they carry. But if I'm a Saints fan, I'm not worried too much about it. He's earned the right to, I guess, bask in his free agency, see what's out there, and then explore if potentially chasing a ring is more important to him than continuing to build upon what they started this season. I mean, look, the Patriots won 4 games last year, and they're in the Super Bowl. So it's not unfathomable that a team with a second-year quarterback could make a run at a bowl. I'm not gonna sit here today and say, "Oh, we're going to Super Bowl next year."
Right.
I will.
I just
book it right now. Saints Super Bowl 2026
on PrizePicks. But I just think he's smart, and I think all things equal, I think he'll be back in the black and gold. But he's like I said, he's earned the right to see what's out there, and he doesn't owe the Saints anything at this point. He's fulfilled his obligation as far as his contract goes. He's been a model citizen in the community, as we know. He's held up his end of the bargain and then some on and off the field. So if he leaves, will a lot of us be upset and sad? Sure.
Yeah.
But will all of us have an appreciation for the player and the man that he is? Absolutely. Do we think Mickey Loomis should do what's right and bring him back so we can continue to grow and he can continue to bring up the guys that are behind him? Yeah. But I would totally understand from his perspective if he feels like there's an opportunity out there that's better for him to win a ring. It might not be all about the money for him.
Right.
Or It might be. There might be somebody that blows him away. Hey, we'll offer you this much money for 1 year to come in and mentor our guys and bring them along. And he might be like, whoa, I'll never have the opportunity to make this kind of money again.
Yeah.
So should we be scared? No. Should we understand? Yes.
Yeah, I think
For sure.
I'm with you 100% on that. I also think that it's important to remember that this is a guy that's coming off of his career high sack year.
Crazy.
I mean, 14th season in the league, and he just did this. And so not only is he somebody that deserves the opportunity to go out there and explore the market and see what might be there for him, he's somebody that's legitimately going to have that market, as you highlighted. And so I think you're absolutely right. Like, look, Demario has had organizations pass on him when they shouldn't have. Demario has had all of those little things that you kind of hear about across the NFL, to where it's like, yeah, you can't, like, it's a business and all these other things. Like, why not be open to accepting that fact and knowing that there might be an opportunity for you to go out there and be of interest to 31 other teams? I think you absolutely have to play that game. And if nothing else, this is so, him and Cam Jordan's contract negotiations are so unique. We don't usually talk about guys that get 10.5 sacks in their 35th, age year, right? We don't usually talk about guys who are 14 years in that get a career high in tackles. And so what's the market for that guy? Do you pay him like he's the 30-plus-year-old, or do you pay him like he's the career high in sack guy, or do you pay him like he's the 10.5, career high in tackles guy, or do you pay him like he's a 10.5 sack guy? It's such a really unique negotiation that sometimes you say, go and find out what other teams, like, go and see what the other market is. And then if we want to match that, we'll match it when you come back. We'll try to, right?
They don't have any right to first refusal or anything.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. But I just want to add something.
Yeah, please.
From my perspective, when I watched, I felt like he looked better this year than he has probably the last couple of years.
Completely agree.
I mean, he just
Completely agree.
not saying he looks like a completely different
What
player.
did he and Cam do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he played better.
Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that has
Yeah.
a lot to do with it too, right? Like, it's different when you're in a different system and you're in one that maybe asks you to do things that you could do now that maybe you weren't asked to do then, or whatever it might be. Like, it's big. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. But I do think that part of the, hey, go and figure out what else is out there, could be a part of the honest negotiation that both sides have. Because, look, NFL teams love to be a year early rather than a year late on a guy that's on their roster. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they don't have respect for the guys that, dedicated a lot of time, energy, and everything like that. So I do think that part of the, I'm willing to go out there and test the open market thing is like, it's kind of part of the process in some cases.
Yeah, I think I fall in line of, if he leaves, there's no like, man, he turned his back on the Saints.
No.
Right.
I definitely get him being like, all right, I think it's time. I'll hang it up. Oh, no, I'll hang up the black and gold. Please pick up another one.
Yeah.
He was just so good for so long, and he is beloved within the community, rightfully so. If he thinks that he has a better chance to win a ring and really wants to win a ring somewhere else, I think it's completely understandable. But the Saints should absolutely do right by him and offer him however much money someone else is going to offer him. Unless, I guess it depends. I guess it depends.
Well, I mean, in the cap situation doesn't completely lend itself to going out on a limb for an almost 37-year-old player that you're probably only going to get for 1 year. So the contract situation becomes a little bit more convoluted because you're probably not going to be able to sign him to a 1-year deal, right? Because you want to be able to stretch that money over multiple seasons. And then it's like, okay, well, now how many seasons are we going to want to add to the deal to make the finances make sense? Like, it is going to be a pretty tricky situation.
Yeah.
If we were in better cap health, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right? Same with Cam. But, like, the fact that we are still so far over the cap, I mean, what are we, 31st out of 32 teams, or 30th or 31st?
Yeah.
I mean, not looking too good as far as that goes. But Kai Harley's a genius.
Yeah.
He's figured out
better than 111 million.
Facts.
Over.
Facts. So there is ways to make it work.
100%.
But I just, the Mickey Loomis plan for continuing to kick the can down the road is what kind of got us in this predicament over the last several years
Yeah.
as far as being able to spend or not being able to spend as much in free agency. I think it's about
And
time.
the COVID year didn't help.
It did not. It did not.
COVID
Yeah, I
didn't
mean
help,
the
so.
salary cap going down for the first time in like ever,
Right.
didn't help. I do think the salary cap is going to go up significantly again, but not enough to put us in the green.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
think.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to be $40+ million in
Right.
2026.
Yeah.
So. Curious to see what it comes in at. Obviously, curious to see not just Demario, but how free agency kind of flows for the Saints this year as opposed to last year when there wasn't nearly as much positivity.
Yeah.
And then the money situation was even worse last year.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
it should be better in 2026
Yeah.
than last year.
And he's already got void years through 2029.
Correct.
Already.
Correct.
As it is. And
Yeah.
so if he walks, some of that stuff accelerates. And
Yep.
so sometimes you
Right
might,
away.
yeah, right. And so like sometimes you can make the argument that, okay, giving the extension can actually help your salary cap situation, but it
And
depends
the-
on what that
right.
extension looks like.
Correct.
Are you hurting yourself more in the future than if you bite the bullet now? It is a team that really committed to the youth movement last year.
Yep.
There's certainly avenues for them to continue to do that.
Yeah. This is an interesting question to close it out on. If Demario Davis does leave, do you take Arvell Reese or Jeremiah Love at 8 if they're both available? I think it's an easy question, an easy answer for me. I go Jeremiah Love.
You're in love with Jeremiah.
I mean, I am. But also, I look at it, I'm much happier going into next year with Danny Stutzman, Isaiah Stolberg, Pete Werner, and all that in that linebacker room than running back the running back room again.
Okay.
That's how I view it, and I think they're both elite game-changing talents.
Mm-hmm.
But I lean Love. I do.
I lean Love.
Hmm.
What shouldn't
We should all.
Shouldn't we all lean
Can I make a
Love?
statement? Saints Squad Show thinks we should believe in Love.
We lean Love.
We need a T-shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Saint Squad Show.
We lean love.
We lean love. I think it depends on what you do in free agency. Like we jump a lot on these types of things straight to the draft. Okay, well if this player leaves, then what do you do in the draft? Well, it depends. Did you sign Quay Walker? Then yeah, Jeremiah Love. Did you sign Rico Dowdle? Then sure, Arvell Reese. You know what I mean? Like those things could potentially
I
move
think Arvell
the
Reese
needle.
is going to be long gone by 8.
Yeah, I think so too. But if they are, but like playing out the scenario, if they are there, to me, like the answer might present itself based upon what you do in free agency, as it so often does.
Yep.
Mhm. All right. Well, I guess that wasn't a good question. Then.
No, I think it's a good question because it
No,
gave
that's a
us,
good question.
Look at the variety of things we got, and
For sure.
lean love,
Lean Love.
lean love.
But I guess that does actually talk about the question is how do you feel about the linebacker room if Demario does leave?
Yeah.
Are you
I like-
good with it, or do you
still
want
need-
to add someone else?
Well, you still need to add somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it probably in free agency.
Yeah.
A veteran presence because the rest of the group is still relatively young. I mean, even Pete Warner is not a super veteran
Right.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to address the position. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, are you comfortable with those being your top 3? I think you could be.
Mhm.
But we know that they like to rotate linebackers. There's been injuries in that linebacker room for multiple years. So having more guys that can play is obviously going to be a need if Demario is to leave and go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
I think the other part of the conversation that becomes really interesting too is you take the either or from do you draft Arvell Reese or Jeremiah Love at 8, and you turn it to would you rather Arvell Reese and Nicholas Singleton or Jeremiah Love and Jack Kelly or Jeremiah Love and Jacob Rodriguez and stuff like that. Like that's the other piece that becomes super interesting too is maybe you're not necessarily just thinking about the one replacement, but what about the tandems of replacements that you could also find in the draft in addition to what you do in free agency? That kind of stretches all of this out too because as we've talked about, running back has some really good players if you don't get that guy in the first round in Jeremiah Love. He even has
Don't even
teammate.
talk about that.
He even has a teammate.
Don't even
in
talk
Janarian
about
Price,
that.
who's
Don't even
really
talk
good.
about that
Yeah.
happening.
But then if you don't get the line, but then if you do get that player or the wide receiver, and then you are looking for the linebacker later, there's still really good talent later on too. And so there's all these different pieces of the puzzle that have to be considered when you talk about these draft scenarios or free agency scenarios.
Yeah. Well, guys, we did it.
Wow.
A live in-person episode.
In the books.
And this is
without
where,
a studio.
without a studio.
Homemade studio.
That's right.
This is where we reveal that I've actually been a hologram the entire time. I didn't make it to Mobile, Alabama. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Saints Squad Show. Thank you for checking us out. We'll be right back here on Thursday. All still in Mobile, Alabama, some of us, to talk more Senior Bowl, what happened, talk more off-season. I'm going to say right now we're going to bring back the better or worse season game on Thursday. I think that because that was a lot of fun last time. Kind of like a King of the Hill type of situation over there. You know, like the game, not the team, not the sitcom.
Propane.
Gosh, dang it, Bob. All right, guys. Thank you for listening, Ross. I need you to close this.
I'm ready.
Go!
Okay, bye.